Hey everybody, Amy here with Garden Up. Today what I want to talk to you about is suckers, tree suckers. So what I have going on right here is this is an ornamental plum that came with my property. I'm letting the grass here die because I'm going to tear it up and put in a xeriscape flower bed. When I build the xeriscape bed, I was thinking of taking this tree out because it's gorgeous in the spring when it flowers, but other than that, it hasn't really done anything for me. I love the dark leaves, but it just wasn't worth it. It takes up a lot of space and it blocks the water from getting over here, which is the main reason I want to put in a xeriscape bed. But I just was really on the fence about whether I wanted to keep this tree or not. So I haven't done anything with it all year, as you can see. So, but what happened this year that was totally unexpected was it gave me fruit. I was not expecting that. It hasn't done that since we moved in. We've been here about 2.5 years. This is the first time I've seen fruit on this tree, and they were delicious. Oh, here's one right here. Ah, yes, a little afternoon treat. Yum. Beautiful. So sweet. Dark purple skin, dark red purple flesh. Beautiful. There's a couple more up there. So now the tree has won my affection and I will keep it, which means I need to deal with these insane suckers back here. So I'm going to show you how to do that. What you need to take care of suckers are a few different cutting implements. Probably your loppers. These are my favorite Coronas. They stay nice and sharp. They're big. They got long handles, so you get lots of leverage while cutting. So these are really great. And then I have my hand pruners. This is what you start with when you're taking suckers off of a tree, but if this isn't enough oomph, that's when you bust out the loppers. And then if those aren't enough, you may need to resort to a saw. So I've got a couple different sizes of saws because there are a couple suckers on here that are pretty massive. Last tool you're going to need is something to dig with. I like my hori-hori, but you can use just about any digging tool, including your hands if it suits you. So basically, these are suckers. These are big suckers. I want to talk a little bit about where suckers come from. Why does this happen? Why does a tree with an otherwise healthy top get this weird, funky growth that's a completely different color, not to mention shape and growth structure? This particular sucker variety has true thorns. It is a little piece of funky trivia. Roses do not have thorns. Roses actually have prickles. The definition of a thorn is a modified stem that turns into a branch. It's also born out of the node of a plant. None of those criteria define what roses grow. These are true thorns. These are coming from nodes, they are modified stems, and they grow into stems. This here used to be one of these, and I'll tell you what, these are sharp. Like, you don't want to mess with those. You accidentally grab this not knowing, you'll stab your hand. So why does this happen? Well, a lot of trees are grown with the top that we want, but maybe the top that we want doesn't have the strongest rootstock, or maybe there's a trait that we want that the original root just doesn't put into the tree. So basically what will happen is the nursery will they'll grow a tree, and they'll take the top of the tree and they'll cut it off, and then they'll take another tree that they've grown with really strong roots, or roots that have the trait that they're looking for, and they will attach them together. And this is called grafting, and there's another process that's used for fruit trees, specifically plums. It's used a lot, called budding. And I'm not going to get into how that works, but basically they Frankenstein the two plants together so that you have the top that you want on the rootstock that will support the tree with the traits that you want. So that's exactly what's happened here. And I'm not positive what variety of tree this is that the rootstock came from, but the roots are sending up their own little trees trying to grow themselves. And we don't want that because it tends to take energy away from the tree we want. So we as gardeners remove suckers pretty much on site. This is way farther than I ever should have let it get, but like I said, I was planning on removing this tree. So now that I'm planning on keeping it, I'm going to take care of the suckers. So here we go. This is how to do it. We're going to cut them off as low to the ground as possible. I'm actually going to dig some of this soil back a little ways to get right down at where this is coming out of the roots. And if I can take the joint itself, that is the best thing. So let's just pretend that this is a root and this is a sucker coming up out of the root. Okay, so pretending this is a root. This joint right here will often, if you leave it on, if you leave a stub, if I cut this right here, this will have several different growth points, several different potential nodes that will sprout new suckers. So if you can actually cut into the root just a little bit to take out those growth cells, you'll save yourself a lot of headache later. So that's what we're going to try to do on this. This is one great way to remove them. It does leave a bit of an open wound, but it usually takes all of those potential growth points with it. And if you can get it to just break off nicely, there. Here, can't really see where the growth points would have been, but I'm guessing there were 2 or 3 right about here, probably a couple right here, and I think I may have left one in this spot where the bark was torn off. While I'm in here, I'm going to give it a good edge. He wants grass growing into their tree ring. This weed here, I didn't even know I had this in here. This is smooth scouring rush. I already have a video posted on that. This is a weed that's been around since the dinosaurs walked the earth, relatively unchanged. So it's got survival figured out, and it is a hard one to get rid of. This is just grass. I walk every day. Right here. That one I work with the saw, so I need to make sure I have a good wide area for the saw to move, so it won't be picking up dirt and getting the teeth all clogged up. Whenever you're sawing, make sure you're in a good comfortable position and you have the elbow width you need so you can move freely. Yeah, see, I'm already picking up dirt. Pruning hardwoods, man, really takes it out of you. This is a fabulous example. So here's a sucker, and these right here are the nodes. Here is a node that's started to grow another sucker. So you can see the growth points, and this ridge right here where the bark kind of, you can see the pattern on the bark runs this way, and here it runs this way. This is where the growth points are going to be. There are 3 more right here. 1, 2, 3 really tiny little dots that probably could have been suckers. Here's another one right here, could have been a sucker, but right here are 2 really obvious ones, and here is one that looks like I knocked it off already. Yeah, if I pop these off, you can see why suckers are said to be weakly attached, is because they are. Most trees, real tree branches, when they grow, here's the trunk, the tree branch grows and it like knits itself together into the tree really deeply. When you use cut lumber and you see the knots, that's what it's talking about. It's this part, this joint, where a tree branch is joined to the tree. But with suckers, that's not the case. It's just a tiny little bit of wood holding it on to where it originated from. And it's real easy to break them off, which is why they're so fragile. They come off so easily. Well, sometimes easily. This was a bit of a pain. That's why they tend to be a little bit hazardous, because they can just fall out of a tree. All right, continuing on with this. Here, this right here is where a whole bunch of new growth would have popped up. I don't see any nodes like we saw on the last one, but I see places where nodes could appear all over that. This one over here is a really good example. You can see the root that it's coming from. All right, so this guy, you can see the ridge right here. I want to try to take off as much of this as I can, because this, where the root meets the sucker, that's where the growth points are going to be. All along this little circle right there. I'm going to try to get as much of that off as I can. Okay, get some of it. Not as much as I would have liked, but angles and all that. Let me just point out that this little bugger right here grew out of several adventitious roots. This might actually have been its own tree. This doesn't even look like it was actually attached to the plum. These are all its own roots. Yeah, no, that wasn't. Okay, well, cool. So that may have been started from a seed from another sucker from years past or something. Oh, good. I was worried I was going to be here for another 20 minutes sawing on that thing. Whew! Done! And that, everybody, is how you remove suckers from a tree. Doesn't matter what variety of tree. But most deciduous trees get suckers, and fruiting trees especially. So on that note, if you learned something new, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss future videos. Also turn on the notifications so that you get a notification of when the new videos are posted. I've been posting every Wednesday for Weed Wednesday and every Friday for Flower Friday, and I will continue to post for at least every Friday all the way through winter and into next year. So I hope you enjoyed this video and all my other ones, and I will see you in the garden.